Good evening. Welcome into Classic Wax, your favorite Monday morning show to kick off your week. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary, and I know that seems a little odd given the time of day it is now, and it's not even Monday. However, this is kind of a special situation here. I unfortunately made a mistake on the broadcast on Monday. My microphone, something happened with my microphone. I messed up the settings. I will take full blame on that. And I really was stoked about the record that we were talking about, Speakerboxxx, The Love Below from Outkast. And so I wanted to redo this segment because it was important to me. And I feel it should be important to all of you. This is just a fantastic record that I think is worth talking about. It's worth making the album of the week. That's the other thing, is I didn't want to leave you guys hanging out to dry for a week. Wanted to make sure that you had a selection to get through your Friday and even have something to chill out through over the weekend. And so, sometimes when we make mistakes, there are opportunities, and this felt like a great opportunity to promote the show at night. I know maybe some of you aren't perhaps morning people, but oftentimes our schedules dictate that we have to be up at hours that we don't necessarily care for. And so the idea with this show, if you're not familiar with it, we pick an album once a week. We talk about a few other things that kind of tie in to the thematic elements that are driving that particular record. But it's meant to feel like a radio show. So, there's no need to watch. You can just listen. I hope that the show is engaging enough on its own in that regard. But, if you want to stare at my ugly mug and check out some visuals, as the show progresses, as we continue to grow and develop, obviously, the visual element of this show, the production, will be much more enjoyable, much more engaging, and more unique, more, not as austere. That's probably the nicest word that I could think of to get in there with that. But without further ado, the whole point of this, like I said, picking an album of the week, the album needs to be released on the day that we're talking about. So since this is special circumstances, what I want to ask all of you to do is to travel back in time to September 23rd, because that's what we do with Classic Wax. We travel back in time, and we're going to go back to September 23rd, not just yesterday, but all the way back to 2003 tonight. So really excited to get back into into that album. And first, we're going to lead things off though with a cool little news story. I want to talk about this new documentary that's dropping about Earth, Wind, and Fire. And our boy Questlove is at the helm on this project. Was given the production rights and the green light on that, which is just really cool. He's been working on a documentary about Sly Stone as well. So I believe both of these projects are slated to be released in 2025. But the coolest thing about this particular project, aside from, Earth, Wind, and Fire being a massive influence on bands like Outkast, Questlove has special access to all of the archival audio, visual, written stuff that's in the catalogs. It's really cool to think about all of that stuff that none of us have ever seen, and a guy like Questlove, who, he's just such an artist. No matter what he touches, whether it's his drum kit, whether he's producing films, the man really is something special and a true genius. So I love that this project fell into his hands. I don't think there's anybody better that could have spearheaded this thing. And it's really exciting to see what he does with all that archival footage. It's great that he got a blessing from the band, all the different estates that do have control over those rights. So Questlove, I really hope you enjoyed that process, man. It's something that I think many of us are excited to watch and to just witness, just to see what it is and how you choose to tell this very influential and very important story in the history of popular music, man. We wish you well here at the Beat Sessions with that and look forward to it. Some really cool projects that came out this week. The first one that I want to talk about, talking about Kate Pearson here real quick. B-52s, such a legendary, unique act. And maybe I'm a little biased, family being out in Georgia, this band being one of the foundations, one of the big founding cornerstones of that music scene in Athens, Georgia, the college rock radio scene. And so to have her still doing the thing and to have her unique persona and personality, all of that. I mean, it's great, but that mezzo soprano of hers, at 76 years of age, it still sounds incredible. She's amazing. It was funny. There was someone that commented on her age, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that she's really that old." And I mean, yeah, she's. I mean, the B-52s have been around for quite a bit. They just wrapped up a farewell tour about a year and a half ago, I believe. They did their thing around the world and then had some residency in Las Vegas for a bit. I still think that that's open-ended. I'm not sure about that. If any of you have some information on whether or not the B-52s would ever play another one-off as far as residency, I don't think they will. I think that is all said and done, and I think that's what's cool about. I think that's what's cool about Kate Pearson, putting this record out now. I think that these songs, she's been working on them for a while, but to allow all the other members of the band, because let's be real, she's easily the most visible member of the band. When you think of the B-52s, I think most people immediately their head goes to her and that signature red Beehive do. And so to give the other members of the band their chance to enjoy the spotlight one last time while they're saying farewell to the world. I'm pretty sure that was her angle, and I think it's cool that she held off. And it's a fun collection of songs. She talks about wanting to just create something positive right now in the world that's really kind of a dark, frustrating place. Try to hide that behind the graphic, and I applaud her for that. This was not what I was really expecting. I really, given her career, thought that there would be more of a rock-oriented feel on this record, because I had not listened to her other solo effort as well. And so both records, very eclectic. There's definitely that rock and roll element that I'm talking about, but the disco flair, the pop disco flair that is very prominent throughout this record, and her other album as well. It surprised me, but I enjoyed it. I think it's fantastic, and given her eccentric style, her personality, that flair, it just works for her. But there's a ton of great moments too where you're getting this 80s new wave feel, and you're just getting moments that they just feel like signature Kate. There's almost, I don't want to say that she's trying to make music that's similar to the B-52s, but after all these decades, there's just artists have their style, and there's little nuances that I picked up on in this record that made it super fun to listen to. So I definitely would recommend this album. Definitely just found it to be a very uplifting, fun experience, which, as I said, is what she was going for. So enjoy this record. In the kind of opposite vein, got this great new record from Bright Eyes entitled 5 Dice, All Threes. And Conor Oberst, he's just such a talented writer. He's got a really just like a literary, lyrical style, and I love that about him. Some critics, they talk about how there's this lack of just poetic flair when you start writing in that way. I personally would disagree. I think it's just a different way of approaching a medium, and I like that. I like, depending on my mood, certain artists, certain authors, certain songwriters can take all that detail and paint the most vivid picture for you and put you just right there in a scene. And I think that's amazing. But it comes up oftentimes. We talk about instrumental music on the channel, and the way that an amazing artist, when it comes to that type of music, will, song titles are important, but it's about creating a mood and putting a person in a position to kind of, get behind the wheel and then let them do the driving, let them go on their own journey. And so Oberst, this record it's got a really angsty edge to it. I think more than any other record that Bright Eyes maybe has put out ever. Like, the lyrics on this thing are biting, they're hard. There's a fun sense of levity to it though, and I like his angle. Conor on this record, in this modern world, especially where there's so much that feels absurd, we're all here, we all have to deal with it, and I like the angle of just laughing and chuckling about it. And I know sometimes it's inappropriate, and I know that sometimes it really rubs some people the wrong way, but it's just what I'm feeling from him on this record, and it's certainly the point that I've gotten to when I'm dealing with a lot of stuff like that. And on the bright side, what I really enjoy is that, you know, in the midst of all this madness, at least you're still alive to experience it, right? I mean, what would life be like if every day was just the same mundane thing? You wake up, you go to work, you grind, you come home, you go to sleep. I mean, really, like, I think that's where most of us find ourselves. I admittedly feel like I'm kind of finding myself there right now. Despite enjoying what I'm doing, it still feels like it has that characteristic. And, you know, I get the idea of routine, stability. It's important, and I understand that, especially the older I've gotten. I think routine is very healthy. Excuse me. But damn it, if, you know, life is too short to not have good adventures from time to time. And I have a very good friend of mine that you all know that's prodding me a little bit right now to take an adventure. And I think it's going to be something that gets greenlit for sure. But I like this album for that reason. 5 dice, all threes. Life is a crapshoot. Life is a roll of the dice. And I think what I really like thematically about this record, we all have our peaks and valleys. It's just the name of the game. It is what it is. But while you're hot, just ride that, man, and just enjoy it and enjoy the experience. And remember that when you hit those valleys, remember those good times. Remember that you will get through it. You will get back up there. And yeah, it's just about that ebb and flow and that continuity. Hope you enjoy listening to this new record from Bright Eyes as well. Just drop that review. And somehow all of this ties in to our album of the week, Speakerboxxx and The Love Below from Outkast, released on September 23rd, 2003. This is an album that, like, I know that they dropped Idlewild 3 years afterwards, but I know a lot of people, including myself, this album kind of felt like the last Outkast album. Idlewild is a great project, but it is driven by concept. There's the whole film. And it honestly, like, I remember that time frame. It was weird because despite, you know, still being together and working on that project, I really feel like most people thought that these guys had broken up after they put out this record. It's so unique in so many regards. Just from the album work alone, you have 2 individual images, 2 individual titles. I don't even, it's a double record, but it literally is it's 2 separate albums in one package. I don't even know if calling it a double record is fair, because when I think about albums like Pink Floyd, The Wall, or I think about, any double record, for the most part, there's that cohesion between both discs. That's not the objective with this record. But it doesn't matter, because what this record did at the time of its release was just blow hip hop up in a way that, we're feeling the result of what this album did to this day. And I'm talking about, like, the good hip hop that's out there. I know there's a lot of naysayers and a lot of people that say that music in general sucks right now. I completely disagree. I think that you have to dig a little harder, and thankfully there's resources that, like this channel. Hopefully you find this helpful. Hopefully there's other avenues that all of you have to dig into to try to find the stuff that you like. But with this record, you think about when Outkast started. Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music drops in 1994, their debut, at a time when you have the Tupacs, you have the Biggies, you have a hip-hop scene that's dominated by East and West Coast. And these guys, the fact that, you have 2 big alphas like Big Boy and Andre 3000 that were able to keep this thing together for 12 years is impressive in and of itself. But 2 cats that are just down here in Georgia, just doing their thing and doing something that's so explosive and so much different. Definitely different styles from the East and the West Coast perspective. But I'd say at that time period, the objective of hip hop, it felt like it was supposed to be laid back. It was supposed to be chill. Like, seriously, I think about all the rap videos, and it's just like sitting in lounges, smoking cigars, smoking blunts. And that wasn't Outkast. From the get-go, Outkast was something that was completely out there, completely different, all the way through AT Aliens, Equemini, and Stankonia is a record that you think about dropping in 2000 and where music was at that point. Just the pop scene, the explosion of bands like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. You get the Britney Spears, the Christina Aguileras of the world. And as far as rock and roll, pop punk, there's all this stuff. And Outkast is just out there, just unlike any other thing that was in popular music. And so Stankonia drops, and the band talks about just really feeling the pressure. And I think it was more Andre feeling the pressure to do something bigger, to do something more unique, to do something that could really push the boundaries of not just hip hop, but who they were as artists. And I think that's really the most important thing about Speakerboxxx and The Love Below. Does it signal the end? Yes. But what you really have is, the final celebration of two guys that came up together, that developed an amazing style, and experimented with that style on, in different manners on each of the records that they put out. But then just realized that, hey, we've hit our end goal with this project, and we've become two different people, two very different complex artists. Because you listen to Speakerboxxx, very hip hop driven, but it's still unique in its own right. And you talk about the almost kind of like ravey quality of Stankonia, that frenetic, fast-paced energy that's driving so many tracks on that record. And I feel like just taken to the next level with Speakerboxxx, the use of electronics, the pace, the energy. This is a record that came at you 100 miles an hour. And at the time, that wasn't really necessarily what people were trying to do with hip-hop. And so I love the way that Speakerboxxx stands out in that regard. And I think it's interesting, too, the way that Andre ends up on so many of those songs on Speakerboxxx, but not the other way around. It's, like artistically, I'm not sure exactly what was going on there. But it, while I feel like Andre 3000, both of these guys definitely, I would say, respected each other artistically, but there was just such a drive, I feel, on Andre's end to not be tied into this project. He just wanted to be something different, something out there. It's just his flair. He has more of that flair, more of that kind of like Prince edge. Big Boy's definitely got his bravado, but I think it's more grounded. It's more, you listen to Speakerboxxx lyrically as well. You have an album that, and I think the reason that it had such a big impact as well is versus bragging about, all the flashy things in life, the cars, the jewelry, the houses. Big Boy's, he's relating to the average everyday person, the person that's buying the album, that's listening to the record, the person that wants to hear someone like him talk about, taking your kids to daycare and dealing with, just going to the grocery store and having to cook and like all the regular stuff that normal, average, everyday people deal with, because famous people still have to deal with that. It's just social media, and especially like there's this pedestal that we place on people. It's like, they don't run errands or shit or anything. I mean, they're normal people at the end of the day. So I love Big Boy writing in a way that's relatable, that's grounded. It's like dropping lyrics that resonate truly with his audience. It's not just this machismo that's getting 18 to 20-year-old boys hyped up. It's definitely much more complex and sophisticated than that. And especially, Andre 3000 side of it too, going with, something that I don't even want to call it hip hop necessarily. There's moments where you feel that influence, you feel that genre driving a particular track, but there's so much as far as the funk, the gospel, the soul, the neo soul, jazz. I mean, The Love Below is all over the place. It's incredible, the continuity that the project has, really, when you think about how diverse it is. And I would, I applaud Andre 3000. I think that at the end of the day, I find that to be the most impressive thing about the Love Below is the out there nature of it, but the ultimate cohesion of the record. Get into some tracks here real quick because we got a lot to talk about, and then I want to wrap this thing up. Ghetto Music is going to open the thing up after an intro. With the hip hop aesthetic, it's something that's very common. I will say that there's quite a few like intros, interludes, outros on this record. I think there's like 11 of them or something like that. So it's slightly bloated at moments with some of that stuff, but it in no way detracts from the overall quality and feel of these records if you choose to hit play and listen to it from start to finish. But you got the intro. Ghetto Music is super ravey. Like, I love the electronic firepower of an opener. Got this smooth breakdown that works in a couple of times that just a very interesting contrast. And to his credit, that's Big Boy not quite being as experimental as Andre 3000, but certainly having his edge and being able to mess around with everything in the studio and bring stuff to the table like that as well. Unhappy is your third song. Love the acapella open. Got this lighter, mellow electronic drive and just a real groovy track with the chill vibe. And talking about the influence of the majority of hip hop, leading into the release of this record in 2003, it's a great contrast. The electronic elements that made Outkast so famous, what made them so different from hip hop in the mid to late 90s, while also messing around with that chill vibe. It's a really dope track. Bowtie is your fourth song. Got Sleepy Brown and Jazzy Fa on that. Brings the horns. Love the funky feel on this track. And any time that Big Boy's working with the brass element in a song on this record, I think it's just fire. The Way You Move is your fifth track, featuring Sleepy Brown once more. We've all heard it. It is a phenomenal song. Smooth. Seriously, it might be one of the most influential, biggest tracks of that decade, without a doubt. Up there with Hey Ya as well, which we will get into. The Rooster is your sixth track. Keeps the big horns working. I really just like that stretch of that funky just horn flare that's working through this stretch of the record. Some funky guitar on that track as well. Electronics are great on Rooster. Your seventh track, Bust, featuring Killer Mike. Ominous vocal harmonies to open, beat hits with lots of electronics. This thing is pretty edgy and moody, kind of dark. I really like the kind of shift in mood from the Rooster and some of those other songs. War is your eighth song. Starts off with this chill, spooky hook, and then takes a hard turn towards electropop. I really just love the experimental, almost kind of psychedelic nature of that track. Church is your ninth song. It is got the simple beat with electronics that border on psychedelic once more. Uplifting message here. Go to church. Do right by your mama. Tomb of Boom, featuring Big Yip and Ludacris. I love this song. Loose beat, minimal electronics that are working in and out. Minimalism is something that I love in hip-hop. I really am a big fan of any artist just lining up a solid beat and then letting the verbiage do the work, really just spitting poetry and showing off rhyme schemes, all that great stuff that we love about hip-hop. Here we go. You got EMAC is your 12th song as an interlude, and then Knowing is your 13th track. Breakbeat, ominous piano, unique feel to it. I really am a fan of that track as well. Flip Flop Rock, featuring Killer Mike and Jay-Z. Big piano to open with Killer Mike and Jay-Z. Just another example of dropping a beat, letting the guys go to work. I absolutely love those appearances on that song. This is a stretch where the interludes become a little heavy, because then we get another one at 15. You get Reset is your 16 track, featuring Cujo and CeeLo, taking you back to that mid-90s R&B feel. I love the song. From the moment it hits, it just has that nostalgia feel. Taking me back to middle school. All for One, Boys to Men, bring it. I love CeeLo throwing down on this song. It's a good one. D-Boy featuring Henry Welsh is as another interlude, getting a little packed with that. And then your final song basically is Last Call, your 18th track. Slim Calhoun, Lil Jon, the East Side Boys, and Mello. The song is fire. And what I really like about it is that it really It harks back to that mid-90s, I'd say AT Aliens feel, a little psychedelic. You get the electronic feel, but it's just got that dope beat. The guy's going to work, funky, good pop flair. It's an amazing song. I love Last Call. And then Bow Tie Your Postlude is going to close this thing out. The Love Below is going to open up with its own little intro. And then you got Love Hater is your basically opening track, second song. It opens like a Jimi Hendrix track. Like the guitar just comes in super wild. And then it evolves into this lounge-driven track. Just total 180 in the music from the opening moments. Love that element, and it's a pretty clear indication of what Andre 3000 is about to throw at you for the next, hour or so. God Interlude is a third track. Happy Valentine's Day is your fourth song. Big beat, funky guitar. I love the recitative vocal matched with the female harmonies. Really great there. It's that's a song that I've heard it on radio. I've heard it out there. Just in social settings, but I don't think that song got as much love maybe as it should have. It's a good one. Spread is your fifth song. Organ intro ushers in some brass. You get this lighthearted trap beat. And I mean, seriously, in a song called Spread, the rim shots, the percussion, it's just too funny to me. You know that Andre knows what he's doing when it comes to that. And if you read along the lyrics, it's not hard to figure out what that's about. I think it's hilarious. It's a funny song. She Lives in My Lap featuring Rosario Dawson. She got a spoken word part on that song. But it's your eighth song coming after Prototype, psychedelic R&B, minimal percussion drive on that. Behold, excuse me. No, we don't. We need to go to Hey Ya is your ninth song. We've all heard Hey Ya. If you haven't heard Hey Ya, you probably haven't been alive since Hey Ya was released. I mean, even now, today, all these years later, still ubiquitous in popular radio, weddings, any type of social scene where, you're looking to get people to shake it like a Polaroid picture. Roses, your 10th song, is another great single off this record. I really love the jazzy piano intro and just the funky pop flair that this song has when it hits its groove. Super great track as well. Good Day, Good Sir is an interlude that's going to lead into Behold the Lady. There we go. Your 12th track feels more like a Speakerboxxx track. It's electronically driven, big vocal hook, hip-hop drive, and I like that. I like that there's those moments where Andre is kind of messing around with that on his side of things. Pink and Blue, it's got the stop-and-go electronic vocal. It's going to usher in simple rim shot percussion, moody sci-fi synths, and then the coda just explodes with this classic pop feel. I really like that shift and that turn in the song. Love and War is your 14th song, electronic pop feel with interesting military snare, unique and definitely different with that percussion for sure. She's Alive is your 15th song, trap beat that's got this classic pop jazz drive, and it's amazing. The track is mellow, smooth jazz feel. It's going to lead into Dracula's Wedding featuring Khalees, your 16th track. Breezy guitars with funky elements. It defies genre. This is another cool track, and I always love playing this thing at Halloween parties. And it's another one of those songs kind of like Happy Valentine's Day. I throw it on, and there's a lot of people that are like, what is this? I haven't heard it. Kind of surprises me. The Letter is featuring Kasha Aman, is your 17th song. Yes, The Letter, and it's going to lead into My Favorite Things. I love it. It's a great cover right there. I'm trying to wrap this up. There's so many songs here. It's I like the incorporation of the Southern hip hop trap influence with that classic tune, keeping the jazzy feel on it. It's pretty cool. Take Off Your Cool featuring Norah Jones. I love that song title. I love the breezy acoustic guitar. Just a minimal, fantastic duet between the two of them. Light organ that works in that's very complimentary. That's nice. Vibrate is your 20th song, penultimate track. Pulsating synths, noir-style sax that works in, followed by the vocal and a little bit of piano that works in as well. And then A Life in the Day of Benjamin Andre, incomplete, is your final song. Hand claps, simple percussion, maintain a Spitfire narrative, and a big track to close, a little over 5 minutes. Vibrate as well is a little over 6. You got a couple big tracks to close this thing out, but a wonderful project, extremely influential, won the Grammy for Album of the Year in 2003, which, I mean, I know that we're not really fans of the Grammys here. They are a crappy award, but, I mean, if you win one, you win one, right? And this album, I do really feel deserved that accolade. Of all the music that I remember listening to back then, I mean, this record is one that stands out as far as the different influences that it was working with and the influences that it's had on popular music in the almost quarter century since its release. And, you know, just you saw two guys take a genre of music to a whole new level and completely open it up. You know, there's people that compare this project to the Beatles' White Album. Honestly, like I can see the comparisons. I think it's fair in some regards. It makes me think of what the Clash did with London Calling. I mean, a punk band, but don't put them in that box, because you listen to what the Clash did throughout their career, and not just on London Calling, but all of their albums. You know, they redefined what punk could be, incorporating funk and jazz and reggae and ska and all these different elements to do something that's completely unique and all their own. And that's what Outkast certainly did with Speakerboxxx and The Love Below, even if it did mean the beginning of the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. I hope you enjoyed this album this week, and stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews, and tune into the show on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you next time on Classic Wax on the Beat Sessions.